Today, we're going to be talking about what to do when your child does not meet the developmental milestones, as mentioned in the previous video. Right, so each child is different. Some children develop a little earlier, some children develop a little late, but they all develop within that age range that I mentioned. Each developmental milestone will be given a age range by which the child has to develop. So if the upper range has crossed and your child has not developed that particular milestone, it's something to be alarmed. It's something that you have to be worried about, and it's something that you have to definitely mention your pediatrician. All right. Please, I request parents not to be bothered about what grandparents or elders or others suggest. I've heard a lot of them say, "Oh, she's not talking at 2 years. It's okay. It doesn't matter. Some people are late." Yes, late, but not that late. So please seek help. All right. And again, stress on the fact that you have to look at all the five domains. Make sure that the child has skills achieved in all five domains. If there is something lagging in any one of the domains, that has to be brought to notice to your pediatrician. So today we're going to talk about actually the red flags for detecting autism, right? Now, the red flags for autism is basically, I'm just going to read out a few things. All right. By 6 months, if the child does not have any big smiles, okay, and there is limited eye contact. See, by eye contact, you have to. Some parents are very confused, okay, so what I'm trying to say is some children, they look at the mother, but it's for a fleeting second. They look at the mother, look away, look at the mother, look away. When you're talking to the child, if the child is not engaged with you, if the child is not showing full concentration towards you, looking at you, smiling and appreciating or giving the expression of I understand you, then your child has very less eye contact. If the child is not smiling as much as a normal child has to, and if your child is not looking at you, I'm not talking about 1 second, 2 second looks, that is not counted. If the child is not looking at you, if then it is considered as abnormal. Right? Even the 1 second glances is abnormal. The child has to look at you. If you are saying one sentence, the child has to look at you throughout that sentence and give you a facial expression of, yes, I understand. All right. The second thing is, and this has to be achieved by 6 months. By 9 months, a little or no back and forth sharing of sounds, smiles, and facial expressions. All right. By this, what I mean is, if it's a normal 9-month-year-old child, when you play with them, they will laugh and giggle and they will be so expressive. But if your child is not expressive, not bothered about you in their own little world, not having that to and fro kind of conversation with you, I'm not talking about speech, I'm talking about just a smile or laughing or giggling or looking at you and looking at something else, looking back at you. If that is not there, then something is wrong. By 12 months, little or no babbling, little or no back and forth gestures like pointing, waving, reaching, showing, little or no response to name. What is this? By 12 months, all children starts babbling. What's babbling? Saying bab, 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 bab. If your child is not babbling, it's something to be worried about. If the child is not pointing, at 9 months, normal children are able to wave, say bye bye. They're able to reach out to the food that they want. They're able to point and say, Amma, look. They're not able to say, but they will look at the mother, they will point, and they will look back at you. Now, that is normal. If you have a child who is not pointing that much, who is not looking at you and looking at that object, which is called joint attention, not pointing at what they want, not reaching out for the object that they want, they're not grabbing your hand and trying to show you something which is interesting. All these are alarming factors. These are things to be worried about. This is a red flag for autism. And if they're not responding to name, talking about consistent response, okay. If you call, like my daughter's name is Leah, and at 12 months, she's definitely having very poor response to name. We would go Leah, 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 Leah. Call 10 times, and one time she would turn back and look. All right. Now, that is poor response to name calling. There were times when we were worried and wondered if she was deaf. I mean, that is worrisome. That is something you should be worried about. All right. By 16 months, very few or no words. By 16 months, if the child is only babbling and saying ba 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 ba, or the child only has amma as a word, only one word, very few words, amma or maybe avva, all right, or is not at all talking. These are things to be worried about. By 24 months, if they have very few words or no meaningful two-word phrases, no imitation. I'm not talking about imitation and repetition. What I'm trying to say is by 2 years, by 24 months, the child should say, give that, see here, like that, two-word phrases. If you are telling, show me, and the child is repeating, show me, that is imitation or echoing what you're saying. That is not considered. I'm talking about a child independently wanting to say something and saying a two-word phrase. Now, if the child is not able to do that, it is a red flag. If at any age, okay, loss of previously acquired speech or babbling or social skills. This was predominant with my child. I mean, I have video recordings of my child babbling and smiling at us and whatnot, even saying amma, abba, orange, banana, and things like that. And slowly everything disappeared. She was not as noisy as she used to be, and there was silence and hardly any babbling, hardly any sounds. This is something which is really alarming. This is something which you should be worried about at any age. Avoiding eye contact. Yes. So you can have a child who's having good eye contact initially, and as the child grows, starts avoiding eye contact. You call the name, the child is not going to turn back. The child is going to behave like as though it's deaf. And the child has issues looking at you for more than a second. Or the child may be comfortable looking at the mother, but not at anyone else. Now, these are things that you should be worried about. The child prefers to be by themselves. They prefer solitude. They prefer to play by themselves and repeatedly with one single toy. They just want to. If for example, if it's a car, they would sit and keep rotating the wheel of the car. They find that very fascinating, and they keep repeating the same thing, and they don't want interaction with others if they cannot understand others' feelings. Okay, I know it is put up as cannot understand others' feelings. It feels like they cannot understand our feelings. For example, if you're screaming at the child and the child is laughing back at you, probably the child does not understand what is happening or the feeling. Now, that is something to be worried about. If the child is abnormally laughing, that is something to be worried about. But it doesn't mean autistic children do not have feelings. Let me tell you again, it does not mean autistic children do not have feelings or they cannot understand feelings. Over time, they learn to understand feelings and they learn to, and they do have feelings. They just don't know how to show it the right way. I could say their brain is wired very differently, so they're not able to react the same way a normal child does. Delay in language development. Most of these children have a delay in normal development. See, autism is a huge spectrum. You might have a child who's totally non-verbal who may never pick up language, or you might have a child who's high functioning and has very good language, but who's echoing everything that they hear, but they are not able to request what they really want. Echolalia again. Persistent repetition of words or phrases again and again and again and again. That is echolalia. And some people say, hey, my child is speaking, my child is able to say rhymes, my child is, I think, is high functioning. Forget about high or low functioning. If your child is echoing, it is something to be worried about. If your child is just echoing rhymes and is not able to ask you when he's hungry, not able to communicate with you and say, Amma, I want an apple, then it is something to be worried about. Cannot tolerate change in routine or surroundings. So these children have difficulty with transition. That is, you wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth. Once you brush your teeth, you have to eat. That transition of one activity to another itself is something which they cannot accept, and they will they will have a meltdown for that. Restricted interest and repetitive behaviors. By restricted interest is they show interest only very few set of toys, and they don't seem to want to play with anything new, or and the social connection with people is very poor. Repetitive behaviors could be like flapping, or it's called stims, all right, stimming, wherein flapping is they keep flapping their hands, or they keep rocking to and fro, or they keep spinning around, or they keep crashing on the bed, and you see them doing it repetitively. Now, the reason for this is because all kids with autism, they have some kind of sensory challenges, and this is the reason they do that. You need to watch out if you feel that something is abnormal with the child. Some children, in fact, they have these vocal stimming. They keep screeching in a high pitched screech. Now, let me tell you. Okay, so my daughter had this high pitched screech. That was her first stim, and head rocking or head banging. Now, my pediatrician didn't find it concerning, and that's probably because he was not aware that stims are of different types. It's not just flapping your hands and turning in circles or spinning the wheel of a car. Stims are of different types. So, if you find anything abnormal, uh, please seek help. Unusual reaction of sound, smell, taste, texture, light, and color. Now, like I mentioned, autistic children have their neurological system wired a little differently. So, a regular sound could actually hurt their ears. A normal smell of something that a pungent smell, which is not going to bother us too much, it might bother them a lot. That they might feel very nauseous because of that smell. So, though it looks normal to us, it is something which is internally causing them a lot of trouble. So, you will see that, and you might have children with some kind of feeding difficulties. They are not able to tolerate some kind of textures, or some kind of some children are not able to take solids, some children are not able to take liquids, they have a lot of feeding issues. All these are a part of autistic children, all right. And some children are very sensitive to light. The moment they go out in the sun, they would probably cover their face. They don't like light on their face. So these are, some children are they have difficulty with texture. That is, they would not walk on a slippery surface, or they would not walk on a rough surface, or whatever. It varies with each child. So at any age you find any of these abnormalities, you have to mention it to your pediatrician. Now, what happens? What can you do if your pediatrician is does not believe you, which does happen to some of us, or if changing a pediatrician may or may not help. But what I'm trying to say is there is something called a MCHAT score, which is available online. MCHAT score. Okay, it is a screening test for autism. It has a questionnaire with a lot of questions, such kind of questions to see. You just have to tick off those questions, and at the end of it, it gives you a result whether your child is low risk or a high risk for autism. So, based on the number of questions that you answer, or based on the pattern of answering, it will tell you. So if your MCHAT score shows low risk for autism, you don't have to be alarmed. But if your MCHAT score is showing high risk for autism and your pediatrician is not taking it seriously, then it's high time you uh, look out for another pediatrician, or search for a developmental pediatrician who can have a detailed check of your child, look at all the 5 domains of development again, to make sure you have an early diagnosis, because early diagnosis is going to lead to early intervention. Early intervention is what is going to finally help your child.